The ocean is often described as empty, endless, and silent, but that is only true at the surface. Beneath the waves exists another world, one where time does not move forward but collapses inward, folding moments, memories, and lives into a single frozen instant. It is here, far below the reach of sunlight, that history does not end. It waits. And today, that history reveals itself through the wreckage of military aircraft that was never meant to be found. The descent begins slowly, the sound of breathing steady and mechanical, bubbles rising and vanishing into the dark above. The water grows colder with every meter, pressure tightening around the body like a silent warning. Visibility narrows until the world becomes a tunnel of suspended particles, illuminated only by the narrow beam of a diving light. There is no sense of direction anymore, only forward and down, as if being drawn into something that has been waiting for decades. Then, without warning, a shape emerges from darkness. At first, it is impossible to understand what it is. A shadow too large to be a rock, too symmetrical to be natural. The light sweeps across metal skin, corroded and torn, covered in marine growth that moves gently with the current, as if the ocean itself is breathing through it. Slowly, unmistakably, the outline becomes clear. A wing, then another. The broken fuselage of military aircraft rests in the ocean floor, tilted slightly to one side, as though it landed instead of crashed. This plane disappeared during a time when the world was at war, when missions were launched and never spoken again, when silence was sometimes more valuable than truth. According to official records, this aircraft never fell here. In fact, according to the records, it never fell at all. The nose of the plane is buried deep into the sand, but the cockpit remains visible. The glass is fractured, opaque with age, yet still intact enough to reflect the diver's light back in distorted fragments. The moment feels intrusive, like entering a room that was sealed on purpose. Nothing here feels accidental. Nothing feels abandoned. As the light drifts closer, details begin to emerge. Faded insignia barely visible beneath layers of corrosion. Rivets holding metal together long past their intended lifespan. A torn section of the fuselage reveals the interior, a dark opening that seems to absorb the light rather than reflect it. The ocean is quiet, but the silence feels heavy, oppressive, as if something is listening. Entering the aircraft is a decision that cannot be undone. Inside, the space is tighter than expected. The walls curve inward, forcing movement to be slow and deliberate. Seats line the interior, some still bolted to the floor, others torn free and scattered. Straps float gently in the water, swaying like ghostly fingers. The light passes over personal items frozen in place. A helmet resting against the wall, a clipboard wedged beneath the seat, oxygen masks hanging where hands once reached them. And then there are the remains. Skeletons still occupy several seats, held in place by rusted harnesses that never release. Their posture is unsettlingly natural, as if they simply sat down and waited. Some skulls are tilted slightly, jaws open, forever caught in silent expressions of shock or confusion. Others face forward, staring through a cockpit that no longer exists, eyes long gone but presence unmistakably real. These were not passengers. They were crew, trained, disciplined, sent on a mission that demanded obedience even when survival was no longer guaranteed. Moving forward, the cockpit reveals itself in full. The control panel is intact, though dead, dials frozen at meaningless numbers. The pilot seat is occupied. The skeleton there is still reaching forward, one hand resting near the controls, the other partially raised, as if reacting to something unseen. There is no evidence of panic in the wreckage, no signs of fire, no explosive damage consistent with combat. The aircraft appears to have descended, not fallen, which raises a question no official document ever answers. Why did this plane go down? There are no records of distress calls, no debris field reported by Naval patrols, no recovery mission, no memorial. It is as if this aircraft slipped out of existence, erased between the lines of classified reports without explanation. The ocean did not destroy it. The ocean preserved it. Further back in the fuselage, something else draws attention. A sealed compartment. Its door partially bent but not broken. Inside, secured crates remain stacked neatly. Markings barely legible. These were not supplies meant for long journeys. They were cargo, important enough to be protected, important enough to be hidden. The diver's light lingers there, and for a moment, the water seems to shift. A current passes through the open fuselage, stirring sediment from the floor. Visibility drops instantly, the world reduced to swirling darkness. Shapes disappear. Distance collapses. The plane feels suddenly smaller, tighter, like a trap closing. Then, from beyond the wreck, something moves. At first, it is only a shadow at the edge of visibility, too large to be debris, too fluid to be mechanical. The beam of light flicks toward it, catching only fragments, a curve, a mass, movement that does not belong to the aircraft or the seafloor. The water vibrates faintly, not with sound, but with pressure, as if something immense has shifted direction. Instinct takes over. The diver backs away slowly, careful not to stir more sediment, heart pounding despite years of training. The presence does not rush. It circles, observes. The aircraft, once a relic, now feels like bait. The ocean has creatures older than war, older than machines, older than memory. And sometimes, they claim what falls into their domain. The shadow moves closer, passing behind the tail of the plane, briefly blocking the faint ambient glow filtering down from the surface. Its outline is wrong, asymmetrical, its movement deliberate rather than instinctive. This is not curiosity. This is territory. The diver retreats toward the torn opening, exiting the fuselage just as the shadow brushes past the cockpit, its mass displacing water with effortless power. For a moment, the light catches part of it. Textured skin, scarred, massive, unmistakably alive. Then it vanishes into darkness, leaving only the sense that it is still there, just beyond sight. Escape is no longer optional. The ascent begins faster now, controlled but urgent. The aircraft shrinks below, returning to its place as a silent witness on the ocean floor. The shadow does not follow, or perhaps it does, unseen, choosing patience over pursuit. Either way, the message is clear. Some places are not meant to be disturbed for long. As the surface light grows brighter, one final thought lingers. That aircraft did not simply crash. It descended with purpose. Whatever it carried, whatever happened inside its metal skin, was meant to disappear. And yet it did not. The ocean remembers everything. Long after wars end, long after names fade from records, the deep holds its own archives. Planes that never landed, missions never acknowledged, lives reduced to coordinates no one bothered to check. This wreck is not an anomaly. It is a reminder. History is not always written by those who survive. Sometimes, it is written by what remains, waiting patiently in the dark for someone brave or foolish enough to look. And somewhere below, wrapped in cold water and silence, a lost military aircraft continues to exist exactly as it was left, suspended between the past and the buried and the truth that